Okay, so let's see the practical application we are going to develop now.
So if I run this now, if I put admin, I know admin, I have programmed it now. So if I put admin, right? Awesome guys, awesome. So it's going to the admin page, so close. If I put a normal user, say ABC, right? And if I say the normal user, if I give a wrong password, wonderful, invalid username password. If I put the right password for a normal user, awesome guys, normal user.
Okay, so let's continue to develop this application now.
Good guys, so let's run this now, right? Let's run this, right? So I want to do one more thing before I run. I would like this window to be maximized, right? So I want to make it maximized. So I will say window state maximize. Awesome guys, let's run. Let's build this once, build the solution. So we are almost finishing this guys, almost finishing. So let's run and see what's going to happen. Let's run. Cool. So we got the login form, right? Okay, let's put some user, let's put a valid username and a password. I know that ABC123 is valid, and let's see what's going to happen. Login. Wonderful guys, wonderful. You should be happy, man. You should be happy. See, we got the output, right? This is what you wanted, right? You wanted a MVC application and you wanted to log in, right? Right. So we are logging to the page and it's directing us to the main page and it's a model window. All good. So let me close it. And now let's experiment with the wrong username and a password. So if I put wrong, see I put a wrong password and click login. Awesome, my friends, it says invalid username or password. So we are done, my friends, we are done. So it looks really good. So one few more things. I want to hide this password. So I'm going to quickly go to the password form, click on it and give a password character. So it hides it, right? It hides it, where's it? Password chassis, I put asterisk, and then if you run this, you will not see the password. So if you run, you will see some asterisks. Now one more thing, right? So let me run and show you. So if you put some password here, see it's asterisk, right? Now one more thing, I also want to finish it in this manner. So rather than the controller returning true or false, now what happens is if the controller returns true or false, what happens is before that I need to rename this. I would like to rename the form as login form, right? So I'll right click on this and say rename, call it as login form. Okay, would you like to rename? Yes, right. Build, rebuild and see whether everything is fine. All good. So what I was telling was if the controller returns only true or false, what happens in the login form is the login form will either get true or false, meaning false means invalid username or password, true means it's success. But now the login form will lose the one information, that is the user level, because just assume based on the user level, if you want to send the user into two different pages, let us say if I got two different pages, say one is normal user main form, let us say the other one is admin user main form. So I'm going to create that as well. So if I create a form, if I call it as a admin user main form, right? Admin user main form. So I got two forms now, right? This is admin user main form, and let's do let's add few things. Let's add a label and do few things, right? Let's do it now. Okay, my friends, I did a bit of decoration. So in admin user main page, I just said admin here as well, whereas in the normal user it just says normal user, right? So just assume on your login page you want to decide where to redirect, right? Is it to the normal user form or admin user? For that you need one information, right? So you need to know whether once you call validate login, you need to know whether the user is a normal user or admin user, right? So how do you know it? Well, if the login form is returning only true or false, it does not know that, right? It does not know. So that then the controller will have to, in this case I will have to change the controller a little bit, so that instead of returning a boolean, I will have to return some information. Now this is in a situation like this, I will have to create I normally create another class. We call that classes as DTO classes. DTO means data transfer objects. Once again, if you don't know this, look at our lesson 5a for you to understand that, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a DTO object just to embed that data, that's the theory, that's how you do it. So on the controller I will create another class again. Once again, whether I create it on the controller or whether I create it on the view, or whether I create it in another project, that all depends on how I would like to organize my classes, right? So if I think I want it on the view, yes, I can put it on the view, but in this case I will put on the controller, right? So I will because the controller is the one who will need to fill that the data and pass that data back to the view. So I prefer to have it on the controller. So on the controller I'm going to create a DTO object. That's just a class, my friends, that's just a class. So I'm going to call it something like, let us say, user. Okay, but it's specific to login, right? So I will call it as user login DTO. DTO means data transfer object, right? So guys, what do I want in this? Let me make it a public class because I want the view to access it. Well, just only the data I want to pass back to the login form. I want to pass, okay, in this case it's simple. I just want to pass only the user level, so I will just call it user level, right? But in a different scenario it can have more data, right? So the DTO object basically contains whatever the data the controller needs to pass back to the view. I'm repeating it again. The DTO class contains whatever the data the controller needs to pass back to the view. In this case, the controller need to pass only one information, that is the user level, right? So, but it's still we keep it as a class and we call it as the DTO class, right? So I got that say user level, right? I got the getters and the setters. So what I will do in the controller is, my little friends, the viewers of this channel, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create object of the DTO now, right? So user login DTO, obj user login DTO. These are best practices, my friends, right? These are best practices, right? So we are here to make you ready for the industry ASAP, right? So just follow us, have faith on us and this channel. We'll make you industry level developers, right? All good. So on this DTO, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say that DTO, okay, user level, and I'm going to get it from the, because the controller class called the logic class, and the logic class return the user object. So on the user object you will have the user level, right? So on the using the user object you will say user level. Awesome guys, awesome. So from whatever you received here, from that you get the user level and you put it to the DTO object, right? And then you will, instead of returning true or false, now what you do is you will return the DTO object, right? So the DTO object, give me a sec. Now let me check my data once again. So looking at my data, if I look at my data, okay, let's look at the data. So look at the data. User levels are either 1 or 2 or 3. Can you see, my friends, right? So that's important for me because now I know it's either 1 or 2 or 3, right? So in my controller class, so I create a if I create a user login DTO, right? And if I assign the level, it's either 1 or 2 or 3, right? It's either 1 or 2 or 3, right? So I know that. So I'm getting it, right? I'm getting it, right? But the thing is this, now it's tricky. Now see, sometimes when the controller calls the logic, right, and sometimes what the logic returns is a null, right? Because if it's invalid username or password, this returns a null, isn't it, right? So if it's null, basically what I have to do is this. It's slightly different. So what I do is I have to first keep it null here, right? So just see what I'm doing here. I will keep it null because, my friends, the thing is this, right? And this should not be here, right? I will tell you why. So if whatever the logic returns is null, you just return a null, right? Isn't it? Because the logic returns null, so there's no object, meaning invalid username and password. So you return null. If not only, then it's valid username and password. So in if not, that means in the else you will create the DTO object like new user login DTO, right? Data transfer object. And then onto this user login DTO, right? Onto this user login DTO, on into the user level, you will get the incoming, that whatever returned by the logic, that object, in that object the user level. And then what you do is you return this object. So either you return null in case of invalid username or password, or you return a valid DTO object. Now because you are returning a DTO type, you have to make sure that this returns a the DTO, the data what needs, right? And then you have to make sure that you change this as well, right? So we are reaching to the towards the end of this, my little friends. So just little more. So then what happens is the form, right? Now it's not returning a boolean, it returns a user DTO, right? So the form also gets a user login DTO. Now then the form has whatever the data sent by the controller, right? The view now has got whatever the data sent by the controller. So what the view has to do is, the view means where the form is to check whether this object is null. So if this is null, now the view knows, okay, the DTO is empty, means it's nothing, so it's invalid username. If not, now before you send to the main form or to the admin form, you put a if condition here, right? Because you can check the data in the DTO now, right? So you can say on this DTO, right, dot user level, because you have the, if that is 1, so you know it's a admin user, right? So see the beauty of this, my little friends. Else if this is say 2, if it's a normal user, right? Or else if this is 3, right? So else if this is 3, so if I go into this, right? So if this is user level is 3, so now I can make my decisions, right? So if it's 1, if I assume level 1 is admin, then and level 2 is normal users, I will just say if its level is 2, do this. If not, what do I do? Create a admin user main form, obj admin user main form, right, my friends? New admin user main form, right? And then say obj main form dot show dialog, right? So guys, I hope it's clear. So it's very important to understand this concept of DTO, right? And I put a comment here and say send to a suitable page, right? Just example. So right, um, so the DTO is playing a very important role, which means the purpose of the DTO is when the controller want to send some data back to the view, what the controller does is controller wraps the data on a DTO. But let me run this first and let's see whether it's working, and then we will continue this discussion. So if I put admin, if you remember, I had a user account called admin in that database. If you look at the video back, you will see if I click on login, it's admin. I should be taken to the admin page, right? So let's see, it's taking a bit of time. Let's see why it's not working. Let's look at the data and see what are the user levels, right? So if I quickly go to the data once again, right click, because I have to see what the data is, right? See guys, according to data, admin level is 3. So and yeah, admin level is 3, so I will keep it like that. So I would say the normal user level is 1. So if it's 1, it's a normal user. If it's level 3 is admin, right? So it's up to me, right? It's up to how I put the data. So I have put it that way. So admin is level 3, the normal users are level 1, right? In that case, guys, on my form, right? On my form, it has to be, if it's level 3, it's admin, right? So if it's say level 1, normal users, right? So in my case, if it's 2, and if this is say 1, right? So let's say I put so what I had to do is I had to make sure that I put 2, because for my sample data, right? So I will go to this and I will say my ABC user is at level 2, right? It's up to me, guys, it's up to me. So what I will do is for my normal users I will put level 3, right? Because sorry, admin is level 3, so normal user I will put level 1, right? So or even level 2, right? I will make it level 2, right? Then I got another user PQR, that's fine, level 2. So all good. And then what I will do is on my login form I will make sure that, because if someone is level 1, I need to at least see a message, right? So I will say message box dot show, right? Something like okay, you are a guest user, right? You don't have access to this system yet, something like that, right? If it's level 1, I will say you are a guest user. So just for testing purpose, my friends. So if I run this now, if I put admin, I know admin, I have programmed it now. So if I put admin, right? Awesome, guys, awesome. So it's going to the admin page, so close. If I put a normal user, say ABC, right? And if I say the normal user, if I give a wrong password, Wonderful. Invalid username password. If I put the right password for a normal user, awesome guys, normal user main page. So you should be so happy because we did everything from the scratch and you understood things, and we did a simple MVC application. Let's see whether we have covered everything, right? So let me close this and let's quickly look at this. So we got our login form, guys. We got the login. From here we are connecting to what, the user controls. So you are getting the validation result, then you are getting a DTO. So one important thing, very important, the purpose of DTO is when the controller connects to the model, and after getting whatever the sorry, when the controller connects to the logic class and the logic class connect to the model, and after finishing everything, if the logic class sends something to the controller, if the controller needs to give some data back to the view, then you do it through DTO classes. Now the question, one final question you might ask, why not the controller sending directly? You might ask, okay, instead of DTO object, because you got the user object, right? And in the user object you have the user level, right? So if you ask from me the question, why a separate extra DTO class, why not directly send the user object, why not directly return the user object? So if you ask from me, instead of any of this, why not say, return that this user object, right? So if you ask from me, right? So why I would not do this is, what is this obj user? It's a user object. Where is this user object declared? The user object is declared inside the model class. So it's and the purpose of the user class is, it's like an entity class mapping, object relational mapping. So this user class or its entity class purpose is to represent a entity, like a relation, right? And it's declared in the model. No, so, and one more thing is, the view does not directly access the model. So I prefer not to expose this entity class user to the view. That is one of the standard concepts we use in MVC development, MVC pattern, design pattern. So instead of exposing the user class, you will have something like user DTO. Or for example, if you have employee class, entity class here, then if you want to give some data to the view, you will have something like employee DTO. Sometimes the fields in the use employee class and the employee DTO class will be the same, right? But sometimes the DTO fields will be different. One good example is, I don't have to in my example, I don't have to pass the entire user, because if I pass the entire user to the view, it will have all the other data like what, UID, username, password, user level. So, but I don't want all that data to the view, right? The view needs to know only the user level to make the to make the decision. In that case, it's advisable to have DTO class only with that information, right? Hope it's clear to you, right? Hope it's clear to you. So to summarize this, to conclude this, guys, you got the login, you are calling the controller calls the, so we have to go and see, right? The controller calls, okay, so I have to undo this, I don't need this, right? I want, yeah, original code. Then the controller basically, this is the controller, right, calls the login class, logic, my friends. So once again, so the view calls the controller. This is the controller method. Then the controller calls the logic. Then if you go to the logic class, my friends, the logic class connects to the DAO and gets connected to the database, get the data and pass whatever the data to the logic class. Then the logic class decides based on the data it receives, right, what to do, whatever the logic, right? So in this case we did that, and then that goes to the back to the controller. Then controller does the redirections, but in this case, because it's a WinForms, I'm unable to do it, so I will have to pass some data or the DTO back to the view. So the view receives the DTO data and based on that does this. So wonderful, guys. I think it was an awesome session, and we are going to end up the session because you completely understood how to develop a simple MVC WinForms application. So let's look at um, the concluding slides. Right? So conclusion, we learn about, my friends, we learn about MVC, ADO.NET, and we did some practicals. So reference, sorry, this is not Apple Docs. We use Microsoft Docs, right? So we use Microsoft Docs. So guys, we use the Microsoft Docs. So let me just put it that way. So the reference was the Microsoft Docs. As developers, make sure you always reference these documents, right? And then moving forward, what's next? So what's next for you all, viewers, guys? What's next? Have a look at our other video on ASP.NET MVC. Also have a look at other videos on C Sharp.NET in this channel if you want to brush up your knowledge. And also just don't forget to look at our high tech, series sessions on artificial intelligence, machine learning, and data science. That is where the future is moving, right? And not only that, look at our IoT discussions as well, right? Look at that as well. Look at that, right? So it's important, right? Let me add that it's important for you. It's important for you. So look at our section. So this is where the future is moving, right? So hope you enjoyed this lecture, and we'll meet with another lecture in very soon.